The universe is dying, and it's because the anti-life equation was combined with a technological virus, turning everyone into what basically boils down to zombies. We are now on DCeased 3, War of the Undead Gods, which is concluding the series as the first story, DCeased, told how we lost the planet Earth and the main heroes all perished. We moved on to the second story, telling how they returned to Earth to discover a cure, and now we're exploring the War of the Undead Gods, the finale to everything. The anti-life equation, as it stands, turns out to be a being known as Erebos. Erebos is trying to eradicate the entire galaxy. The last 6 issues of this finale basically set up an infected Darkseid becoming a Yellow Lantern, and the heroes proceeding to lose as even Mr. Mxyzptlk was being controlled. That's basically where our story is now. The heroes are losing, everyone is panicking, and no one knows what's going to happen next. And as Damian Wayne, who has become Batman, was knocked so hard that his head nearly fell off his body, Alfred became the new spirit of vengeance after losing everyone important to him. This story has been going on for some time and I'm loving it. Today I'm going to bring you guys issue 7 and give you guys my thoughts on it. This is Comicstorian. I talk about comic books and I turn them into audio dramas. The idea is to keep you up to date so you know what to get at your local comic book store to build your collection. Now let's get into issue 7. We'll talk after. The undead hordes have reached Earth 2, the second home of mankind. Oliver covers President Lois as she evacuates people to the Ark while the war is continuing around them. Also, Lobo has arrived. He most likely won't make anything different. Well, looks like a fraggin' fun time, the last Caesarian shouts as he arrives on his space bike. He roars forward, grabbing an infected light ray, ripping his head off in the process. On Earth 2, Mr. Miracle and Barda continue their fight, but Miracle pauses for a moment to turn and see their son. Mr. Miracle hesitates, and that's when Jacob, his own son, attacks him, ripping through his chest. Elsewhere, Alfred has become the Spectre, the spirit of vengeance. Using his power, he rips through the head of the High Father, who is infected and nearly knocked the head off of Damian. He then turns back to his last son. "It's all right, you're safe," he tells him, but Damian looks at him, cuts on his face. "No, I'm not. I could feel it in my head. The anti-life equation, I can't stop it," Damian gasps, feeling the anti-life equation beginning to take him over. Cassie lands nearby, taking Damian in her arms. "I'm sorry, Cass. I tried," he whispers to her, but he looks at Alfred, telling his old friend that it's not too late. "I know you're gonna want to tear them apart, Alfred. You'll want to destroy it, but you have the power to save," Damian gasps, the infection beginning to take control as he begins to tear at his own skin. An infected Maxima lands nearby, but Cassie is angered, lashing out, knocking the powerful alien away. Alfred stands still, surveying the death and the destruction around them. Above them, a boom tube opens and the infected Yellow Lantern, Darkseid, descends upon the planet, flanked by powerful allies and an infected war world. The Spectre begins to rise before turning to Cassie. "Wonder Woman, keep them at bay as best as you can until I return," Alfred tells her. Cassie looks at him in shock. "Return? Where are you going? I need you!" she shouts, but the Spectre flies away, heading deep into space. "No, there is somewhere else I need to be," he says to her. Meanwhile, Superman roars forward, attacking Darkseid, hitting him with a blast of heat vision. Brainiac is there to help. "Hold him, Kryptonian," he says to John, but Darkseid turns and the infection begins to spread throughout Brainiac's body. He immediately heads back to his space, now infected by the Erebos virus, where he intends to infect the hundreds of worlds that he has trapped within small bottles upon his ship. But Cyborg follows him, not wishing for the plague that he has brought to this world to spread any further. He blasts Brainiac from behind. "We know your name. We know what you are. If you can hear me, Erebos, these cities are under my protection," Cyborg tells him, and Brainiac glares back at him. "You cannot protect the universe," he snarls, tentacles lashing out to infect Cyborg. But Cyborg smiles. Brainiac can't infect him again. And Vic then takes control of Brainiac, adding his technology to his own. "Brainiac is mine now," he says with a smile as he's transformed. He turns around, suddenly having an idea, and he returns to Earth 2. Below them, the citizens are still rushing to the arcs, Oliver looking back to President Lois as a swarm of infected Thanagarians rush them. Madam President, I hate to say it, but there's hundreds of undead between us and the arcs. I'm not usually one to point out the shortcomings of a bow and arrow, but even I have to admit I'm a bit limited in what I can achieve here. But it's at that moment that Cyborg lands among them, scattering the aliens. Lois, where's Kandor? Cyborg shouts with a new, Brainiac-inspired voice. Out in space, John Kent continues to fight against Darkseid, but he sees Warworld positioning itself to strike Earth 2 and destroy it. Keep fighting! John shouts as he flies past his friends with a mighty Cassandra Cain taking charge of beating down Darkseid. John rushes forward, flying in the path of the destruction beam coming out of the Warworld, protecting Earth 2 long enough for him to fly into the beam and destroy it from the inside out. Weakened, he tumbles towards Earth 2 below, but he is met by his father and an army of recently enlarged Kandorians. Dad, I stopped it, John tells his father. Clark Kent Superman looks down at his son with a smile. I saw, son. I saw. The Spectre has now returned, bringing with him shipments of the cure from Earth. He scatters it over Earth 2, healing the infected, and Damian opens his eyes. Cured. He sees Alfred, Cassie, and Leslie Tompkins leaning over him. He's awake. His injuries aren't too severe. He'll be all right, Leslie tells them. The other heroes are holding down Darkseid, trying to give him the cure, but his skin is too tough. That's when Lobo arrives with the cure in hand. I know a technique, he grunts as he shoves his hand down Darkseid's mouth like he's a dog who needs to take his medicine. The cure works, but Darkseid's big chompers come down upon the Caesarian's hand, taking it with it. You bastard! I use that hand for some of my favorite things! Lobo shouts. Darkseid is cured. He stands confused by what happened, and the Spectre appears before him. You were taken. We brought you back. You have been used, New God, by an entity known as Erebos. Darkseid gets to his feet, turning to Superman, one of his greatest enemies. Darkseid was made a pawn? He asks, and Superman nods. Yes. Darkseid's eyes blaze as he grinds his teeth. My vengeance will be terrible! He rumbles with rage. And that's it. We are almost at the finale of this entire series, and I'm stupidly excited. I've kind of been yo-yoing with DCeased 3 War of the Undead Gods, because the idea in general does seem really cool. You know, what about the anti-life equation? What about Darkseid? What about the High Father? What about all these gods? It kind of just rushed to all of them gaining a bunch of abilities, which is why I was in the middle kind of losing interest, because what makes DCeased 1 and 2 interesting is the character development that comes out of it. Seeing the emotional path that characters like Damian have taken in DCeased 1 and then DCeased 2 Dead Planet, but DCeased 3 has been more about telling the story of the universe being lost, meaning it's been telling the story about like how the gods are battling and what's going on with Darkseid and that kind of a thing. But now in these last couple of issues, we're coming back to that character development, those touching moments that I really do love about the series, such as Alfred being consumed by the spirit of vengeance because of the fact that he felt he was losing his last son. But what do you guys think about it? Let me know down below. Currently, issue 8, the finale, is coming out on April 18th, 2023. So if you don't want to miss it, subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, and if you're so inclined, please consider turning on the notification bell. It turns out only about 2% of our subscribers have it on, and that's why you may be one of the people not getting notifications from us. With all the changes YouTube has recently made, basically, if you don't have that on, you don't know we exist. So on that note, I'll see you guys next time right here at the Comicstorian channel.